Over the summer, our next guest was calling for a 25% stock market correction. That hasn't happened yet, but he's still doubling down, calling for equities to plunge as much as 50%. Joining me now is a former congressman and noted libertarian, Dr. Ron Paul. He's also the chief ambassador to Goldco. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you again.
Yeah, good to have you on today. Let's start with the U.S. stock markets continuing to make new records, but you're not falling for the hype. How come?
No, because I've been influenced to a great extent by an understanding of the business cycle from an Austrian viewpoint. And when there's excessive credit and artificially low interest rates for any period of time, there always has to be a correction. In the old days, they used to come and go rather frequently and predictably, but since 2008 and 2009, we have been introduced to uncharted waters, the unbelievable amount of credit created out of thin air and malinvestment and debt going on. So there's a lot of need for some corrections out there which have been resisted by the perpetuation of just more and more credit and more debt. It'll come to an end. Nobody knows the date, but it will arrive, and it'll be very devastating to the markets.
And you're calling for as much as a 50% correction. You say, no one knows the date, but is there a certain time frame, 2, 3 years, next year?
Well, no, not really. I mean, you can make a guess, and I don't think it's going to be this week, but the foundation of a sound economic system and market has eroded. So anything could come, if there's an accident with our foreign policy and something breaks out in Korea, unfortunately, it's possible, that could precipitate something in a day, a week, or a month. But how long can this last where people can be fooled into thinking that you can have perpetual prosperity by just printing money? Who knows? But I think within a year or two it won't last. I think what will finally bring it to a climactic end is the continuing exaggeration of the division of wealth from the lower 50% versus the highest 10 or 15%, and that's a source of social conflict and political chaos. And I think that's a major crisis that will bring about the big correction in the stock market.
Right, and the Fed, right? Are you blaming the Fed also for the upcoming correction?
Well, I blame the Fed for creating the bubble, and the markets demand corrections. In the old days, the Fed used to recognize and say, "Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe we ever did it. We better cool things off." They don't do that anymore. They're pretending they're raising interest rates. I don't think that's going to go very far. I think the markets will dictate. But the Fed is responsible for the artificial inflation and malinvestment and the debt, which requires corrections. And in the past, the Fed has precipitated the correction. I think it'll be just plain the markets and the demand that a correction has to occur, and exactly what precipitates the crash is unknown.
Now, speaking of the Fed, let's talk about President Trump's picks. I know in your recent article you said it's just more of the same, and you have been very vocal critic of the Fed. But if you had to choose a Fed chair, who would you like to see?
Jim Grant, because he was my choice when I was running for president, because he was trained in Austrian economics, and he would understand what the Fed shouldn't be doing. And that would be the most important thing, to get people in there to have them realize that they are not economic planners, that they can't run the economy, they can't finance war and welfare. And Jim Grant knows that, and he's capable of doing it, but I don't think he's been interviewed yet, so that's not going to happen. They will put somebody in there that will perpetuate this type of monetary policy we've had for a long time, which means that even if they crank up interest rates a little bit deliberately, the markets will demand that they can't do very much until it's overwhelmed. Eventually, when countries really go to the dogs, Venezuela or these other countries, every time they try to do what they did conventionally, that is, print more money, it does the reverse. So far, printing the money seems to help, but eventually it'll turn around and do exactly the opposite.
I know last year there were certain members in your circle who were looking to get you a seat at the Fed.
Well, that's just a little bit of silly talk. No, they're not going to entertain that thought, because it would be impossible for them to accept the idea that the Fed is not smart enough to know what the money supply should be, and they're not smart enough to know what the interest rate should be. So that would be not a very practical thing in this day and age to happen.
Dr. Paul, you've been an advocate for obviously Audit the Fed. We saw talks of it during the presidential campaign, but it seems President Trump is different from candidate Trump, at least that's what you say. But why is he not talking about auditing the Fed? What happened to that idea?
Well, that's a good question, because he talked about a lot of things in the campaign. He might not necessarily talk about it now. His policies with Russia change and other things. So, no, I think that he understands what's going on from the financial markets viewpoint, which is always requiring low interest rates, and that's been known for a long, long time. So what he knew before he became president, I don't know whether he's learned something since then, but I think he's with the group that will say, well, you can't turn the spigot off. I mean, it's just too difficult for people to adjust, because a correction is not painless. A correction is something that is necessary, should be done. It's done for the long term, but on the short term, there's some people who will suffer from it. It's just too bad that people who that benefited tremendously from the inflationary period, that they wouldn't be the ones that get punished. But during 08 and 09, the people who benefited got bailed out. The people who really lost out were average people who lost their jobs and lost their mortgages, lost their houses. So it's not a very fair system, because we've drifted so far away from a sound monetary system that was placed in our Constitution, that we weren't supposed to have fiat money. We weren't supposed to have a central bank.